Good morning. Today is the Aquarius setup for reading where the planets are transiting people's rising sign. So this is rising sign only. Sun sign can have a little energy about what I'm talking about, but I don't want people to go by their sun sign. It needs to be the rising sign, and we have all the information on how to get to that. I'm going to start with Aries rising. And with Aries rising, you're still going through some personality changes, how you show yourself to the world. And that's going to go on for a little while longer, a few more months here. So just keep changing what you're doing. So you're going to see yourself wanting to change your haircut, the way you dress, just the way you show yourself to the world. And sometimes they'll be pretty major changes. If you've had long hair all your life, you might want to go to short hair, you know, kind of thing. So, but where this eclipse is hitting is your fifth house, which is your children. It's your creativity. It's speculation, kind of like gambling, but don't go overboard, please. It doesn't mean that it's always a good thing. You could lose a lot too. So just everything in moderation. But really find your creative side right now. That's what the planets are asking you to do. It's bringing light to your creativity. And creativity could be writing, joining a theater group, painting, drawing, anything, sculpture, and quilting, sewing, any kind of creativity. And what creativity actually, why that's so important, is it puts the part of your brain something to do to let spirit through while you're creating. And so you'll get done with what you're making and you're like, oh my God, where did that come from? You know, kind of thing. So just let spirit direct you in your creativity. At some point while you're doing it, it will just start taking over. And you might even hear your guides while you're doing it, which is a great thing. If you want, the part of fortune right now is in your fourth house. So doing a something from home, start a business from home. If you work from home, it's a good time for you. It's when you feel your wholeness. The eighth house, you still have Jupiter going through there, and Jupiter is expansion, and eighth house represents the other people's resources. So it's a good time to get a loan if you need a loan. It's a good time to start paying down your debts because you don't want your debts to expand. So really keep a handle on those. Maybe consolidate your debts if they're out of control already. It's also death and rebirth. So there could be, if somebody is not well, they could choose to leave right now. I'm not talking you, but a relative, a friend. The Jupiter in the eighth house could also represent inheritances. So you have Mars going through your ninth house, which is your higher belief systems. It also represents publications. So if you are a writer or an artist, it could be getting your stuff published. But the main thing is for you, we still have a lot going on in Capricorn for a while, and Capricorn is on your 10th house. So you're working harder or putting in longer hours at work. You could be communicating more, doing public speaking, especially with that 5th house new moon. It could launch you into a different, even career, a different creative side. Now, what is your hopes and dreams? Because the other part is the 11th house of your hopes and dreams. So I hope you're setting intentions, what you want to create in your life. You're going to have maybe join new groups, new organizations. But really focus on your dreams, because you have the power of the new moon or the full moon to this full moon and eclipse triggering things off. So get back to what have you always wanted to do? Get back to that. You have Venus there. You'll do well. Venus is creativeness. So did you always dream to be a painter? Just pick up a quick set and start painting. Writing short stories, poems, anything. Right now, the planets are really supporting you in doing this. You can also be having a spiritual awakening. You have Neptune going through your 12th house. So pay attention to your dreams. Have a little tablet by your bed so you can write down things that you remember in your dreams. Are you being woken up at 3 in the morning? That's a really good time of inspiration that they talk with people. Okay, that's it for you, Aries. Let's go to Taurus. Taurus, you thrive in communicating right now. So are you a writer? Are you a public speaker? Are you in the communication business? So that's where you're going to feel your wholeness right now. The full moon eclipse is going to be setting off in your home and your career. So there could be changes in your home. Are you moving? Are you thinking about a new career? Are you wanting to start a home business? Get that going now. You have the energy of the full moon to get that going. Your relationships are expanding. So that can be expanding for the good or bad. So if you're not in a healthy relationship, it could expand to the point that it pushes you to get out of it. Or this can be, you can be expanding to have more relationships, or to go on to a deeper level in your relationships, taking the next step. But what's not working will be evident. So focus on what does work. Your 8th house, you have Mars going through there, and maybe now is the time for you also that you could be putting in and asking for a loan. It can also be that you are talking, that you might notice your medium abilities, talking with the other side, is stronger also. Especially because the Capricorn is in your 9th house. You have the Saturn, Pluto, and Mercury. So your belief systems are changing. Maybe you never believed you could talk with the other side, and then you're starting to feel, you know, your mother that passed away around you more, or, you know, it's not that you have to hear them, but you can feel people that have passed over around you also. Or some people even see them, you know, it depends on how strong your psychic abilities are. Your 10th house is your career. And I can see with Venus in there, in your south node in the sun, so with this full moon eclipse, that maybe you're going to get a little more creative. Some gifts from past lives might be coming through. So pay attention to, you know, subtle urges to do something. Really pay attention to that, because they're trying to communicate you with that. If I used to say all my life, I can't paint. Well, I started painting a year ago, and I'm being amazed by what I can do. So don't say you can't do it until you've tried it. And, you know, watch YouTube videos. Everything you ever would want to do, somebody's done a YouTube video on. So try it that way. You might be starting getting in some kind of group that's spiritually connected. You have Neptune going through your 11th house of hopes and dreams, groups and organizations. So the people you hang around with, your friends and that, you're looking for a deeper spiritual connection with people, and maybe even volunteering, helping humanity at this time too. And your 12th house has to do with the unknown. It also has to do with institutions. So you have Uranus going through there, and Uranus kind of is the one that has the lightning bolt energy. Things come quickly, unexpectedly. It can also be volcano eruptions, earthquakes, changes in the earth. So that's also something you could start having spiritual awakenings, because the 12th house is awakenings, and so is Uranus. So you might have some pretty intense awakenings, and just breathe through it if it scares you a little. You're always protected to always call on Archangel Michael if you kind of get scared with a spiritual awakening, because sometimes it happens so quickly that people don't expect it. So just immediately call on Michael and only allow the highest truth to come in. Gemini, your self-worth is being worked on right now. So how you earn money, it's being highlighted with the part of fortune right now, and that's where you feel your wholeness. So think about other ways of enhancing your self-esteem. This could even be a good time to ask for a raise. Your communication with this eclipse, your 3rd house and your 9th house. So you might be talking more about your belief systems, how you believe, and readdressing them. Are they still working for you? Are you holding on to somebody else's belief that you've learned? It can also be lower education and higher education. But your communication is going to take on a high new creative level. So if you are that writer or songwriter, poet, novels, whatever, your creativity is absolutely being heightened right now. And it's also going to be heightened on getting things published. So if you have finished a book or a song, start looking to get it published. If you're not the singer, you can still sell your songwritings, because this is a great time for that. And you are bringing in a lot of stuff from your past lives, a lot of gifts. So honor those and use them. Your daily routine at work, whatever your daily routine is, whether it's at home or at work, that is being expanded. So if you're retired, you're going to be doing things more around the house kind of thing, but it's being expanded. You have Jupiter going through your 6th house. It can also be expanding your health, for the good or bad. So really start considering upping the foods you eat, as far as more fruits, more vegetables, go more with the chicken if you're red meat, but start getting healthier, because with that Jupiter expanding, you need to keep up your strength. Your 8th house, your 8th house is all that Capricorn. So you're going to have to work harder if you rely on other people's money. If you own your own business, you're going to have to work a little harder for it, or have a new way of creating money through other people. Start thinking out of the box. But you'll be communicating with others, finding a new way to communicate with others on with other people's resources. Your 9th house, I kind of touched on that. That's right now is a good time to get things published. It's using your creativity, examining your belief systems, working for humanity, make changes, help to make changes in the world. Your 10th house, unless you're doing spiritual work, you're kind of might be not seeing things clearly about your career, or you're not sure of it, or if you're trying to get a job, you're not knowing when you're going to get a job. It's that Neptune kind of fuzzy kind of, where you can't really know what's going on. So just work on your intentions. If you're looking for a job, focus on the job that's going to be best for you and go for it. Your groups and organizations, friends, and working with humanity. You might be looking at changing other groups. People might might just show up in your life that's going to change your world, kind of thing. So there might be major changes in that. If there's some friends that are constantly draining you, that are always the takers, not also giving, you might start thinking about letting some of those people go if they're not working for you. So you really want to get clear on how people use you and your energy. Are they draining? Because we do have people that can drain our energy. And if we're focusing our time on them, then we're not having time for ourselves. So, Cancerian is up next. And your 2nd house is being highlighted by this full moon eclipse, and your 8th house. So it really has to do with how you value yourself, so your self-values. And your soul really wants you to focus on this. Are you, and it's also how you make money, or the amount of money you make. So are you being paid what you put out? Is it in balance? Is it time to go ask for a raise? Or is it something that, you know, they won't give you a raise and maybe you just need to go find another job where people value you and your work and pay you what you should be paid? So that's things to consider right now. And this lasts a long time, this full moon eclipse. So it is also, I had said the 8th house. So that's being highlighted if you need to get a loan, pay off debts, consolidate debts. It could be an inheritance. It could be an insurance payout. The 8th house also is about having inspirations. And so really listen to the inspirations coming through to you right now. If your psychic abilities are going to kind of be heightened, or your intuition, whatever you want to call it, your gut, connecting with your guides, this is all a great time. It's bringing light to that. So you're going to notice your intuition is going to get stronger. Your 4th house has Jupiter. No, I'm sorry. Your 5th house has Jupiter in it. And your 5th house is the house of creativity and children. So that's expanding. People that want children, this is a good time to try and have them. Maybe being around children, teaching art classes to children because they're not doing those in the schools too much anymore. Volunteering to work with children. If you don't have children of your own. Finding a new creative outlet for yourself. And that is also going to tie into that 2nd house of self-worth. So finding a creative outlet. Have you always wanted to write? Have you wanted to paint? Have you wanted to do sculpture, draw? Take lessons if you feel you need them, or go on YouTube. YouTube is amazing. I started painting a year ago with YouTube, and I'm amazed how easy it is. So I normally can't draw. So don't think that if you can't draw, you can't paint, because I thought that for years. But that the 5th house of creativity and children are expanding. The 6th house of work, you're going to have a lot more energy. You have Mars there giving you a boost. It will also give you more energy towards your health. You might want to consider focusing on more healthy foods, vegetables, fruits, whatever you're lacking in. Everybody can always figure something out to up their healthy eating. Maybe recently I stopped using plastic bottles. I got a glass bottle to drink water in. Just even little changes is going to make a difference. Your 7th house is being highlighted of relationships. You have Saturn, Pluto, and Mercury. So you might be having Mercury there. That's the communication planet. You should be communicating more with people in your relationships. It could be your children, it could be your husband and wife, whatever. But you're really going to have to work at communicating right now, and really setting solid foundations, Saturn, in your relationships. It's very important. You're going through almost a morphosis of how you relate with others. The old way isn't going to work anymore. So you're having to find new ways to relate to other people. The Ninth house is being highlighted with Neptune. So finding a deeper connection. What is your source? Is it God? Is it the universe? Getting connected with source is important. Spiritual writing would be a good thing right now. But going deeper into your spirituality is important with that Neptune going through your ninth house. Aries on your 10th house, there could be sudden changes with your career. You could change careers quickly. You could get laid off, or the company you work for, there's a lot of buying and selling. It could be sold out. It changes. So really, but it's giving you the energy, and it's also helping with that second house of self-worth. So if your job and career isn't really working for you, is it time to change? Are you at a point where it's time to retire? There's all kinds of choices. It's not that something bad is going to happen to you, but it's choices for you to increase your self-worth. So Leo, you are being heightened with this full moon in your personality and in your relationship. So it's you against others, or how much you give others and how much you give yourself. So that's in total opposition. So it's about trying to keep that in balance. So you don't want to put everybody before yourself. And having a Leo personality, you're not going to want to do that long anyways. That you want, Leos are normally the one that want to be on stage. So, but, you know, so you can't be too much in your ego, and you can't be too much giving to others. It's everything in balance. So, and you'll be making changes to how you present yourself to the world too. You have Jupiter transiting your 4th house. So that could be changes in the home, somebody moving in, somebody moving out, you redecorate, it's expanding. You could be moving to a bigger house. If you work from home, this is a good time because it's going to expand your business. So use that energy for that also. Your 5th house of creativity, you have Mars going in there, it's creativity and children. So having Mars in there, you might be running around with the kids more if you have kids, taking them to all their school activities and whatnot. But I would also like to see you give more energy to your creative side. Your 6th house, with being in Capricorn, you want to focus on eating more healthy, being more, really looking at what areas in your daily routine are you wasting time, or is not being used proficiently. So you might want to readdress where your focus is in your daily routine, that whatever's not working, start changing. It's a good time if in your daily work, if you're a writer, do you write at work? So this is a good, you'll find yourself doing more of that. Your 7th house of relationships. So this is being highlighted. So there might be some new relationships coming into your life with this full moon eclipse, especially because Venus is there. And they will feel like past life. Like, you know, this person, even though you just met them, you have this knowing, you just know them from before, and you can't always explain it, but it's usually a past life connection that's coming through. So relationships, if you're not in one, expect one pretty soon. And if you are in one, it's bringing light to it. So it could be going to the next level. Your 8th house, Neptune. Having Neptune there is especially with the 8th house being a medium's house, that you're going to maybe be talking more with the other side or communicating with your guides. It's also, you wouldn't be very sure if you're going for a loan, whether you'd get it or not. That Neptune is, you never know. It's always the unknown. So you're not going to feel confident if you are trying to get a loan. The 9th house, Uranus. You might go back to college or take some classes. It's higher education. Or you might even expand on your spiritual beliefs. Maybe start studying a new philosophy, a new culture. It's also long distance travel. So you might be taking a last minute trip almost. So have your passport ready because that's the 9th house is long distance travel. The part of fortune is falling in your 12th house, and your 12th house is the unknown. So you might be wanting to spend more time alone, a little more isolated, so that you can really get in touch with your guides and get to know yourself again. So you might see yourself a little more isolated, or needing your alone time. Not necessarily isolated, but keeping in balance. If you're always out and doing things, you might want to just retreat a little bit. So, okay, Virgo rising. Your 3rd house is expanding. So how you communicate. Are you a writer? Are you going to take up writing right now? Are you going to, it's also very psychic. So being in the 3rd house, are you going to start communicating with the other side? There's going to be more energy in your home. And be careful about accidents in your home. You know, pick up things if it's something that's going to cause you to trip, because you're going faster. It seems like you're rushing around more with that Mars energy there. Your 5th house of children and creativity, you have Saturn, Pluto, Mercury. So if you're a writer, this is a great time. Sit down and start writing. Almost everything in your chart is emphasizing that right now. So if that's something you've always wanted to do and you're being urged again, actually honor that and sit down and do it. And it's almost like you could, if you sit down and start writing, it's almost like automatic writing. Spirit will take over for you. So look into automatic writing and like meditate before you sit down to write, and call in your guides. The 6th house is being highlighted with this full moon, and this has your sun, your south node, and Venus. So your daily work, your daily routine would be more creativity, but it also can be highlighting your health. So again, I see yourself being more healthy, getting out, walking, hiking, just getting out in nature more is a really, it's not necessarily you have to change things with food. Yes, that's always good to get more of the fruits and vegetables, but getting out in nature stand against with your back against a tree and just feel the energy in your spine from the tree. Get out in the grass with your shoes off. Feel the energy of the earth, because that will just come right through you and help balance out your body so it can self-heal. 7th house, Neptune. You're kind of going to be unsure about your relationships, or they can be more of a spiritual relationships because of Neptune there. But it's almost like there's a lot of things aren't being said that should be said kind of thing. It's that Neptunian, can't put your finger on things, just feeling kind of thing. But so your relationships are kind of fuzzy. Your 8th house, Uranus, you can have unexpected income. It could be insurance payout. It can be inheritance. It could be loans, whatever. But having Uranus, which is that lightning strike, quick energy, it's stuff that you don't see coming. So being in your 8th house of other resources, that can be a good thing. It could also be you start hearing like your mother or father, if they passed away, or your best friend, that you're not going to see it coming, but you'll feel them, and maybe you'll even hear them. It depends on how it comes through and how you've worked on your psychic abilities, but that is expanding too. You feel best with groups and organization and around friends. That's where you feel more nurtured around those type of people, or even helping humanity, because your part of fortune is in Cancer. In your 11th house is Cancerian, as groups and organizations and friends. That's where you're going to feel your wholeness. The other part of the eclipse is falling in your 12th house of the unknown. So again, highlighting talking with the other side, having spiritual inspirations, having, if you haven't been taking care of your health, you could land in the hospital. So really focus on that, your health. Get out in nature more. Take deep breaths. Really listen to your body and see what your body needs. Okay, Libra rising. You have Jupiter expanding your 2nd house of self-worth and how you make money. So this is an excellent time to ask for a raise if you haven't gotten it already. This is a maybe looking for a job that pays more. Also, this would be a great time. Your communication is being heightened, kind of with Mars here. You're going to be careful that you're not just you want to be careful that you're not putting your foot in your mouth kind of thing. Try to have that focus or that filter. You can find yourself spurting out things that you didn't mean to. So kind of take a breath when you start feeling heated up. And if you need to walk away, walk away. Excuse me, I have to go to the restroom or something. You know, and get in there and take a breath and relax. When you find yourself with that Mars energy, you can, it's kind of the foot in the mouth kind of thing. So be a little careful about that. With your 4th house is Capricorn. So we have that Saturn, Pluto, and Mercury. So you'll be communicating more in your house, but also the things that aren't working, You might have people moving in, moving out. If your relationships aren't going well or going through a divorce, that would explain that area. Get creative. That's going to help with all this chaos going on. That's going to help. Because with Libra, you can't stand chaos. You can't handle people arguing and fighting all the time. You can't be around that for a long period of time. So if that's been happening in your home, you might want to consider making changes there, because it's not healthy for you, and it will drain your health. And so you have to take care of yourself first. And what will help you keep things in balance if you feel like you're trapped or the situation can't change quick enough for you, get into your creative side. Do something creatively as your escape. Just create a little space in your home and start getting into your creative side, because that's being highlighted with this full moon. What's been your deepest dream that you've wanted to do? Start re-examining that. You're going through a lot of changes. So what have you always wanted to do? What made you happiest in your life? Seventh house, you have Uranus going through there. So that can mean that you're going through some, it can be sudden changes. It can be breakups. And it can also be bringing to a higher level relationships also. So it's not always a negative when Uranus goes through, but examine do you have friends that are draining you that really aren't your friends, but you've been kind of putting up with it. So you might have changes that way too. It could be business partnerships are changing and dissolving, or start a new business partnership. The 10th house in your career is where you're going to feel your wholeness right now. So if things aren't going well at home, you might be putting more energy towards your career section, your job. But you can't avoid what's going on if things need to change in the home either. I'm not saying that. But it's also a way of helping deal with the situation if it's not going well. Like I said, your hopes and dreams are being highlighted by this full moon. So really examine them. If there's something you always wanted to do, if you need to go back to school for it, go back to school. I don't think you do. I think you have everything you need to do to get your dream going, but start making steps. Start writing down a business plan. Start writing down what are the steps I need to take to make this dream come true, okay? But really put an energy and focus on it. So that's for Libra rising. Scorpio rising, you're going through a lot of personality changes. It's expanding. You're adding more dimension to your personality. You have Jupiter in your first house. So how you show the world, you're showing the world in a bigger way right now. Your second house of self-worth and of how you make money has Mars in there, so that adds energy to it. You're more aggressive about it. And with these personality change, with that Jupiter in the first house and the Mars in the second house, you're going through a lot of realizations about your own self-worth, and you're realizing what a great person you are. Just be careful that you're not a little too dogmatic about your belief systems. Be open to other people. You're normally a very secretive person with that Scorpio rising. The other thing you have to kind of be careful of is with communication with people is to really get a filter on your mouth because on your speaking, because Scorpios have that tail and they can be very biting. So start being very conscious on how you communicate to people. Are you in a reactive mode and you're just stinging? I find that Scorpio rising can be very, very stinging with their words. So really, I invite you to consider really listening and thinking before you speak, because I'm not saying what you don't say is the truth, but maybe it could be said in a gentler way so that people don't feel put off, and maybe then they'll consider what you're saying a little more. But if it's the sting, you know, that's all they're going to remember, and you might kind of lose your impact with them, let's say. Especially with your third house of how you communicate with everyone. You have Saturn, Pluto, and Mercury in there. Mercury is the communicator. Pluto is the death and rebirth. So you have to find new ways to communicate with people, because the old ways aren't going to cut it anymore. People aren't going to put up with that stinging much, you know, right now. Saturn in there is asking you to really, it's about that filter, having a solid foundation of how you communicate with people. The fourth house is being highlighted with the full moon eclipse today. So it's your fourth and 10th house. So it could be changes in the home. It could be changes in your work. It could be changes in, you know, your career. In your home, you have the sun, the south node, and Venus. And being in Aquarius right now, you can come off as a little cold and detached in your home. So, and with that Scorpio rising, people aren't going to know what's going on. You need to be able to communicate it to them, because they're not going to understand where you're coming from, kind of thing. So don't retreat too much, that you're not letting the people close to you know what's going on with you. Having Venus there, you do want things peaceful in your home and nice. So is it time to redecorate, change things a little bit in the home? The fifth house has Neptune. So fifth house is creativity. It is children. Do you need to spiritually connect with children right now? Do you need to find a creative outlet that's brings you closer to your source, your God, your universe, whatever you want to call it? If you are an artist, you might go more on a spiritual kind of art right now. The 6th house, which is your daily duties, your daily routine. It's also your health. You have Uranus going there, and Uranus is the one that is kind of lightning bolt changes. So all of a sudden you might decide that you want to start eating healthier, that you're really going to focus on your health, and or changing your daily work. Maybe you'll go to a different area in your job, learn a new daily routine at work. You know, maybe you'll go from being a salesperson into accounting. Who knows? But it's not necessarily that you're changing your job, but it could your career or where you work, but it could be doing something different in the job you have. So, and it could be sudden, you know, somebody gets sick and you have to cover their work. You know, it can play out in so many different ways. Your 10th house is the other side of this full moon eclipse. That's where the moon is and your north node. So being in Leo, are you a public speaker? You're going to be in the light more. So you're going to be either taking on more authority in your career, or you're going to be in front of people. It could be teaching, it could be, but it's highlighted that that Leo is the one that wants to be on stage. So, have you always wanted to be a public speaker? Maybe start looking into that. But that, where's your passion in your career? We need to start, all of us collectively really need, what's that one dream that we wanted to do to help humanity go forward? We need to start making steps towards those dreams. Sagittarius rising is the next sign. And you have Mars in your 1st house. So people are going to see you a little more aggressive. You want to be careful driving also, because a lot of times that will play out. Speeding, you could end up with a ticket. So really kind of be careful with that extra Mars energy. You don't even realize that you're speeding. You're just going. And also think a little bit more before you speak, because with that Mars energy, the filter is a little thinner. The 2nd house has all the Saturn, Pluto, and Mercury, which has to do with your self-worth. Having Mercury in there is asking you to communicate your needs a little more. You know, are you not speaking your truth when it needs to be spoken? Also, there's going to be changes in income. A lot of people with Saturn going through there, and then now with Pluto with it, that things could be a little tight right now with how you make money. It could be that you're moving and you have to find a new job. There could be all kinds of reasons for it. And it doesn't have to be bad, but just realize that things might tighten up a little bit with that Saturn there. Or have you always wanted to be a teacher because Saturn is a teacher? Do you want to go back to classes and change your career right now and be a teacher? The 3rd house of communication and lower education is being highlighted. With that being with the full moon eclipse. And so the sun, the south node, and Venus are there. How you communicate is going to be more pleasant because of Venus. If you do any writing or any kind of artwork or creative avenue, that is going to take on a heightened energy. But the one thing that you might want to be careful of is, because it is all in Aquarius, Aquarius can be a little too detached. They can detach themselves and come off as a little cold. So being highlighted in your third house, you might want to kind of be careful. Are you coming off as a little cold, rude, you know, kind of thing, a little more than you would be. There's going to be almost some karmic feeling, some past stuff. So some people might have start having visions of a past life that they were in with this full moon eclipse. It could be communicating with your guides in a new way. You have Neptune in the fourth house. Neptune in the fourth house you could be teaching metaphysical classes out of your home, or you might want to create a little space for yourself in your home to meditate, get a deeper spiritual connection. Your home is your sanctuary. So it's where you go to retreat, but don't retreat too much because the world does need you. The fifth house of children and creativity and luck is also, you have Uranus in there, so you could have a sudden downfall of luck. But I'm not encouraging you to go gambling, but if you feel guided to buy a lottery ticket, buy a lottery ticket. But there could be change. You could unexpectedly, if you're a woman, be pregnant, or your wife gets pregnant with that Uranus going through right now. It's quick, sudden lightning bolt changes. You could have, because the fifth house is also creativity, you could have a lot of inspiration in your art or doing something, woodworking, whatever hobby or artistic avenue you have, or find a new one. But it's almost going to be, really pay attention to your thoughts, because you're going to be inspired. So don't kind of miss those as they come. The other aspect of the full moon eclipse is falling in your ninth house, which is of publications. It's long distance travel. Do you have a trip coming up, going to a foreign country or studying a foreign culture? But you're going to be more interested. Are you a photographer? Maybe getting some, your pictures published. If you're freelance. The ninth house is also your higher education and your spiritual beliefs. Is that needing to be examined? What's your passion around that? Because it's the moon in there, so that's where the moon's falling in your ninth house. So what are you passionate about? Really add energy to your dreams and get back into your passion. Did you used to do something when you were younger that you always loved to do and life got in the way? Get back to it, readdress it, start doing it. The Jupiter is falling in your 12th house of the unknown And it's also institutions. It can be hospitals. So it's expanding. Are you a nurse? Is your work going to expand at the hospital? Or is your health not well? Having Jupiter there is, you really want to focus on healing if you're in a spot where your health is not well, with that Jupiter there. And being in Scorpio in the 12th house, that would also expand on your connection psychically. Have you been a medium? Do you talk to the other side? Your intuition is going to be so much stronger. It's expanding, going more dimensions. Jupiter is that big planet. So is that, that's a lot of energy. So that's why Jupiter is all expansion. And maybe consider getting deeper in a spirit. What's your spiritual practices? Do you meditate? Do you listen to music? That's why being creative and getting into artwork or doing something with that part of your mind, then it lets those inspirations come in. And because you're giving one part of your mind something to do, and so then it allows spirit to talk to you. So consider getting a little space in your home to meditate. Go to meditation classes, go to spiritual classes, but it's about going to new levels with your spirituality. Do you have old belief systems you need to let go of that no longer serve you? So consider those. Capricorn rising. You still have a lot going on for you. You still have Saturn, Pluto, and Mercury. You had a lot at the new moon, but now for this full moon, you still have stuff going on with your personality and how you present yourself to the world. So I'm sure you've been already making major changes to your appearance, the way you dress, the way you are with people, relating to yourself, relating to others in opposition. Your second house of self-worth and your 8th house of other people's resources. So your second house has to do, this is where the full moon eclipse is happening, your second house and 8th house. So for your second house, that has to do with the your self-worth, how you make money. Are you an artist? There's going to be some past life issues coming up, maybe about your self-worth, that are being brought up to be healed. So really pay attention. How are you reacting to other people? Other people are basically mirrors for us. So is somebody irritating you? That might be something that's you want to examine. What is it about it that is irritating? And do you have that aspect in yourself? So people are a lot of times mirrors for us. That would be a good time to ask for a raise if you feel that you've been lacking in appreciation for the work you do. Is that in balance? What you give out are you being rewarded? Are you getting bonuses? Are you getting extra perks? So it has to stay in balance. And that has a lot to do with your self-worth, is how much we're being paid. So if there's no chance of getting more pay, if you've asked, then do you need to start looking for another job? If you're an artist, are you really charging your self-worth? Should you be charging more? If you're a photographer or if you're a painter, you know, what is your self-worth? The third house has Neptune going through it, and that's how you communicate. And so it can really increase your intuition right now, having Neptune there. But it also can be a lot of misunderstandings. People don't understand what you're saying. So you might have to repeat yourself or use different words, say it in a different way. This would be a really great time for writing, spiritual writing, automatic writing. Especially because in the fourth house right now, it has Uranus in it. So you could be working out of the home. A lot of writers work from the home. So you could have sudden inspirations. Uranus is the lightning bolt changes. It's the volcanoes. It's the earthquakes. So having that in your home, are you moving? Is people moving in? People moving out? Just major changes. The 8th house is the other part of that full moon. That's where the moon is in the north node. So that could be other people's income. It could be inheritances. It can be insurance payouts. But it's it's other people's resources helping you. So that's a little heightened right now. And do you need to ask for help if you're struggling? Now would be the time if you need a loan. Also, it's also being a medium, talking with the other side, especially because this isn't Leo, it's being heightened here. The 11th house has Jupiter in it. That's your hopes and dreams. That's help friends, groups, organizations. Having Jupiter in there, it's expanding that. Now's the time to really focus. What is your dream? Have you accomplished your dream yet? But you need to expand on it. If you haven't started creating your dream, do you need to start making a business plan? Get some solid things in writing in your intentions to your dream. Write it out to help bring this to you and create it. Go talk to somebody about it. Has somebody else tried to do this? Get insights, ask them questions, but definitely expand your dreams. The 12th house is Mars. That's the unknown. It's also communicating with the other side. Going spiritually deeper. Also be careful about accidents, not being clear when you're driving, not focusing. So really stay focused and be the defensive driver. Aquarius rising is, you're really being highlighted with this full moon eclipse. So with the Aquarius rising, people kind of see you already as a little detached. I would like to see you not go into excessive detachment right now, because with the eclipse, that's going to be your first reaction, is to back out if things aren't going well. But people see you having Venus there with it. There can be some past life gifts coming to you. So things that you have accomplished in other lifetimes could be coming up for you. You know, gifts that you never thought you had. Try different things, try new things. Make changes the way you dress. Do something different. You have Neptune in the second house. Your self-worth, you've never, with Neptune there, it's kind of been fuzzy for you, and you never know where your money's coming from. Are you one of those struggling artists? Are you using your guides to direct you to make money? As a light worker, are you doing healing work? And so you don't have a regular paycheck, you know, from a 40-hour work week. So really use spirit and your guidance to direct you, and really be clear of how much money you want to make, and set your intention and write it out. Having Uranus in the third house of communication, that can be a lot of foot in the mouth kind of thing. But it can also be a lot of inspiration, sudden inspiration coming in. Also short distance travel. So really pay attention if you're just going to the store, because it can highlight accidents. So always pay attention to the cars around you. It's not your driving you always have to be careful of, but it's the cars around you. The other aspect of Aquarius rising is the seventh house is where the moon and south node is. So your relationships are being highlighted. How you relate with others. They're going to take on almost like a faded aspect, past life. You know, maybe you're going to meet somebody and you feel like you've known them for 50 years kind of thing. Or it could be you meet new people and you instantly cannot stand them and you don't know why. It could be from another lifetime. So having the nodes with this full moon eclipse, a lot of things can be faded and be past life stuff coming up. So your career, your 10th house has Jupiter in it, which is good because that's expanding. Maybe you're taking on more responsibilities at work, maybe promoted to a supervisor, maybe manager, but your career, your work life is expanding. Are you going to start a new job? This is a really great placement for Jupiter. Are you taking on more authority? Are you speaking your truths? Having Mars in the 11th house, that's your hopes and dreams. You're really going to focus and put energy on your hopes and dreams. What is your biggest desire, and are you adding energy to it? What are you doing to make that happen on a daily basis? Are you joining more groups and organizations? Are you going into getting connected spiritually with other people, getting in spiritual groups? The Saturn, Pluto, Mercury is in your 12th house. The 12th house is the unknown. It can be your intuition, your psychic abilities. It can be institutions. It could be, hospitals. Are you a nurse? Are you a doctor? That is all going through some changes. Or are you sick? Are you going to be in the hospital? So really have to be a participant in your healing if you're sick. It's not just going to the doctor to get well, you have to talk to your body also and focus and put the energy to be a well person. I am saying talking to your body because of that Mercury in there. And it's taking your healing, taking responsibility for your healing. And it starts with thoughts and words. Pisces rising. You have Neptune on your first house. People are not gonna, there's going to be probably a lot more people not understanding what you're trying to say, having the Neptune there, or maybe you're going to be taking on a new dimension of spirituality. Are you going to start meditating right now? Are you going to start going to a group of other like-minded people? Are you going to start dressing differently, changing your hair? The way you present yourself to the world is kind of, you're unsure, you want to make changes, but you don't know what you want to do. That kind of thing, having Neptune there. The second house has Uranus in it, so that's your self-worth. You might get an unexpected raise. If you're an artist, you might have somebody interested or ask you to do a commissioned piece. The Uranus is that lightning bolt changes. So your second house is your self-worth, and it's also how you make money. So you might be changing. You might be taking on an extra job or doing something you love to do alongside with your job and make money with it. So just try different things. The sixth house is the part of the full moon eclipse. So you have the moon and north node in your sixth house, so your daily work and your health. So how is your health? Are you taking care of it? Are you upping the quality of the foods, eating more fruits, vegetables, cutting back on the red meat a little bit? Are you a psychic where your intuition in that is going to be stronger right now because it's being highlighted by the eclipse? Your creativity level is also being highlighted because it's in Leo. The ninth house has Jupiter. The ninth house is long distance travel. Are you taking trips? Are you going to a foreign country? It's also about your belief systems, your higher education. That is all expanding with Jupiter. Jupiter is that big planet, so there's big things going on now. Are you a writer? And the ninth house has to do with publications. That could be a photographer getting some of your pictures published. It could be a artist getting their a gallery showing. Anything publication can be any avenue. Your 10th house has Mars in it, so you're going to have more energy towards your career. Are you upping your career right now? It could be also changes. Are you being a little too aggressive, that Mars energy? Are you being a little too authoritative? Or I would say not with the Pisces rising. You need that energy so that you do stand in your own truths and your own authority. but still keep it in check if people are reacting or if you're coming on a little too strong. So pay attention to that. Your hopes and dreams, friends, organizations helping humanity go forward, technology. You have Saturn, Pluto, and Mercury. So the way you communicate with people, are you going to start an online business? But if you do start that, having Saturn there, it's going to ask you, make sure you have all your T's crossed and I's dotted and have a solid foundation is what Saturn asks of you. Have you put down in writing what your desires are, your dreams are? What's your dream job? Write it out. Is it a relationship? Write out the qualities in that relationship. Even if you're in one, say what you want that relationship to be. But it's adding energy to your dreams, what you've always wanted to do, and start going for them. And with Mercury there, put them down in writing and get clear about it. The 12th house is the other aspect of the full moon eclipse with the sun, the south node, and Venus. So if you are an artist, you might, or a writer, it might start going into automatic writing where spirit just starts writing through you. It's not really you're doing it. Spirit takes over and works through you. There can be, with the south node there, it could be a lot of past life gifts coming up that you didn't know you had. And so if you have an urge that keeps coming up and being repeated, go for it. That spirit trying to nudge you to what your soul's desire is. And with Venus there, this could be fated relationships, past life relationships, reconnecting. It could be unknown gifts that you have had worked on, and were you Michelangelo as a sculptor, anything that you've always wanted to do, I invite you to experiment and start doing it. Do you like to make furniture? Or do you like to, whatever, creatively? Or do you like to set up and design homes? So just don't limit yourself. It's about expanding what you really want, what your true desires are right now. Thank you.